or after he spent all night making it. His partner explained that the food sold for credits had already been eaten before they even got there. The doctor just looked at the older sister and said the decision was hers. The woman turned her face away, trying to think of a solution. Then the doctor proposed that if she acted as guarantor, she would accept the internal account, but charge 20% interest on the debt. The partner complained about the rate, but Sojing threatened her, saying you get what you pay for. With no other choice, she agreed to the deal. Once he got the items, the boy thanked them and promised to pay as soon as possible. Then the group said their goodbyes and left while the younger one said she was going to bed. In the end, the scientist commented that he didn't think she would be willing to give them credit. They all walked in silence down the laboratory hallway. The doctor explained that old friends naturally got discounts out of consideration. Meanwhile, the yellow drone floated beside her. She commented that the partners seemed to be planning to build the team on her own. The scientist revealed that he was already tired of Lin Jiang's stagnant state and thought it would be fun to stir things up. Finally, as she hid in the corridor, the doctor just muttered that she would regret this later. On a busy city street, the group observed the buildings around them. Then the pink-haired partner turned to the boy and confirmed that they needed gold. She explained that she couldn't get supplies for free and would have to trade for them, which made Song Chio question why they needed so much gold. The young man revealed that besides gold, art and antiques could also be used in trades. The younger sister asked why they needed such useless things. He simply commented that the needs of a large base were surprising, quoting a saying about how priorities change once your stomach is full. The pink-haired woman showed concern, saying that even if they found gold, 3 people couldn't carry much. He then suggested buying it from others in the western suburbs, but she immediately dismissed the idea of trading food for gold. After thinking for a moment, the partner stated there was only one way to get what they needed. With a determined look, she told him to just come with her. Soon after, the group arrived at an alley in a simpler part of the city. A man greeted them with a smile, saying it was a rare visit. Then he commented that he didn't expect the West Side twins to be handling their own business, but was cut off when she said she would get straight to the point. Hearing the nickname, Song Chao whispered to the younger sister, trying to understand. The girl just gave him a look to keep quiet. The group then watched from above a busy alley functioning as a slave market. The boy stared silently at the scene. Then the partner approached the merchant and specified she needed 12 people, 8 men and 4 women, only skilled combatants. She added to the order that he must also provide all the necessary equipment. Finally, the young man realized they were negotiating the purchase of human slaves. Moments later, a convoy of military vehicles moved through a forested area. Inside one of them, one of the new recruits explained to a man that they had bought a group of slaves at the market. Then another companion added that these people would join Shen Juwen's team as a reserve of members and labor. A third person simply confirmed that was the plan. The young man watched the scene silently from his seat. He soon noticed no one had spoken since they entered the vehicle. Silence filled the car, while the younger sister slept on the seat beside him. To break it, he commented how quiet the atmosphere was. The partner explained that with life and death uncertain, it was natural for a slave to have no spirit to talk. The boy remembered she hated slaves and questioned her about it. With a cold look, the woman confirmed she despised it in every sense of the word. The mood inside the vehicle grew heavy after her statement as she kept her eyes on the road. Everyone stayed silent, only hearing the engines hum. The boy looked away, unsure how to respond. To break the tension, she announced they would go to the residential area to collect what they needed and then free the slaves. Surprised, he said buying and freeing slaves didn't seem like something she would do. With a smile, the partner asked what he meant by that and announced they had arrived. Then the vehicle stopped in the middle of an abandoned construction area full of debris. The convoy's vehicles parked in a concrete yard surrounded by abandoned buildings. When the watchful boy questioned the place, the older sister explained they had stored all the easily found gold from nearby villages there. Her brother then instructed that one shipment of gold should be moved first, and they take the rest back later. The woman walked to one of the military trucks. Then she opened the transport vehicle's door. Holding it, the commander ordered everyone to get out immediately. The new recruits looked outside upon hearing the order. Then they began climbing out as their leader urged them to prepare for work. She then ordered the men to take the crates from the truck and told the other sister to take the women to pack everything up, leaving nothing behind. The younger sister accepted the order with a smile. The commander turned to the boy and told him to choose what he wanted to take first. Watching the scene, he muttered that the West Side twins were finally using human slaves too. One of the recruits asked another what the reward for the work would be. The other man said they'd end up as labor anyway. He concluded that as long as they wore bong collars, it'd be whatever the buyers wanted, even cannon fodder. Hearing that, the commander turned and asked if they thought she was talking nonsense. The man confronted her, asking if that wasn't exactly the case. With a smile, the woman revealed that the reward would be their freedom again, which shocked him. The other recruits reacted in disbelief, asking if she was joking. The commander confirmed it was no joke and that, besides freedom, they would also get jobs. Smiling, she reminded them there was no such thing as free food. One of the men asked what she wanted them to do, but she only said he didn't need to know yet. Finally, she extended her hand and offered them a chance to try and see if what she said was true. As soon as they opened the crates, the determined young man found several gold bars and thanked the commander for all the material they had gathered. In total, they had collected nearly 23 kilograms of gold, along with some gems and jade sculptures. The boy then said he would start with a 6-kilogram crate, which would be enough to trade for many things. With that, he seemed to get an idea. Then he turned to the group and asked if they wanted to eat something. The younger sister listed several items, while the older one asked for mushrooms, vegetables, and bread. Smiling, the boy said he would confirm their orders. He told them he'd write everything down and it might take a while to return, but the leader reassured him that she would watch over the team. As he lifted the crate, he noticed it felt strangely light. While carrying it, he thought about how future technology could make a fortune delivering food. The commander just watched him silently as he got ready to leave. The younger sister asked if she shouldn't follow him, but the older one replied that as partners, they had to respect each other's privacy and told her to come deliver the reward. The girl was surprised at her sister's plan. Standing at the top of the stairs, the leader stated that you don't doubt a person, you simply hire them. Before the recruits, one of the men asked if she would really give them freedom. One of the recruits questioned another if he believed everything she said. From the top of the stairs, the commander looked down at them and ordered everyone to gather around. With her finger raised, she told them to listen carefully to what she was about to say. Then she revealed that their betrayal contract would also deactivate the bomb collars and that she would keep her promise. The recruits stayed silent as she paused before continuing. The commander then announced that she had a proposal to share with them all. Outside, the large mansion stood out in the middle of the abandoned landscape. One of the men asked if the proposal was to form a regiment. As she came down the stairs, the commander confirmed that was exactly the idea. With a smile, she said some of them must have heard of the sisters' reputation. The recruits recognized them as the West District Sisters, known as Shen Zhaoan and Shen Jiamei. One of them commented they were rare celebrities who hated slaves but followed the lone wolf doctrine. The woman explained that she needed an army to expand her business and that they were all talented. One man pointed out that even the non-combatants had special skills in their fields. One of the female recruits just watched the scene silently. Pointing at the group, the leader said she had bought them so she could offer them a deal for their freedom and careers. The man understood the situation and the logic behind it. He argued that if they didn't agree, the collars wouldn't come off and it was just a change in wording. Mentioning the collars made the other recruits visibly tense. The commander just looked at him with a smile and asked how he came to that conclusion. Then she laughed and said there was a limit to how much you could underestimate people. From the top of the stairs, she reminded them that her stance on human slaves was well known in Wenjiang. She activated a device in her hand to prove her point. Smiling, she said she wouldn't break her promise. Suddenly, one man's collar opened with a snap. Then the object fell from his neck, releasing a puff of smoke. The unexpected action left the other recruits completely shocked. The commander invited everyone to spend the night and think about her proposal, telling them they'd be free to leave in the morning. To finish, she winked and said she was looking forward to hearing their answers. As soon as she left, one man asked what else they could do. The group then discussed the situation, saying they didn't want to follow in the sisters' footsteps, but also didn't want to leave empty-handed. Later that night, in one of the mansion's rooms, everything was quiet. Soon after, one of the recruits quietly entered the room where the commander slept. He saw her resting deeply in bed. Outside, a companion asked how she was, and the man confirmed she was sleeping well. The other recruits gathered, calling her a fool for buying slaves and saying how the West Side twins didn't know what they were doing. One of them asked what they should do now, and another replied they would tie them up. Their leader said they would need to ask her where the weapons and supplies were. The three men laughed together about the plan they had just made. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the house, a recruit grabbed one of the women while the younger sister asked what they were doing. The man claimed the brothers were grateful for their freedom and wanted to give her some life lessons in return. With a serious look, their boss asked if he was happy to bite the hand that fed him. The recruit insisted he was just repaying the favor, which left the girl completely frightened. The leader stared at him in silence, his expression unchanged. He warned him not to do as he pleased with someone who didn't want him, and the man agreed. Finally, the recruit asked him to watch the others and just not interfere. He then continued his reasoning, saying that either way. With a grin, he concluded that once they got the weapons, they could do whatever they wanted. Soon after, one of the men moved silently toward the main bedroom. Meanwhile, the commander slept deeply, unaware of their approach. One of the traders prepared to strike her with a club as she slept. Then the group of traders surrounded her bed, declaring that this was their world now. Another man raised a spiked club high into the air. With full force, he brought the weapon down toward the woman. The scene ended with the motion of the final attack. At the moment of impact, the man celebrated the hit, but the blow passed straight through the woman's body. Holding the club, he questioned the strange sensation of the attack. Then the trader realized something didn't seem right about the situation. The club went right through her image, which glitched like a hologram. Shocked, the man shouted as he understood it was just a projection. The real commander revealed herself at the head of the bed as the group stared in disbelief at the trick. Realizing the danger, he shouted for everyone to get out, but was struck by a sudden attack. Coughing blood, the trader fell fell to the ground before finishing his sentence. A voice then stated that he had been far too slow. The other intruders backed away at the sight of their fallen ally, as the leader called them fools for killing and stealing like that. Sitting on a shelf, she held her weapon and commented that she had almost fallen asleep from their delay. Meanwhile, in another room, one of the men swung a metal pipe at the younger sister. Before the blow could land, the girl caught the weapon with her hand. Even using all his strength, the man couldn't move the pipe an inch. Then the girl opened her eyes and asked if they couldn't be a little more decisive. With a snap of her fingers, she said they had been far too slow. While one of the traitors laughed, another shouted, demanding to know why they were taking so long. Their leader remarked that it seemed they weren't very good at fighting. Menacingly, a man told him to keep laughing. He would see the consequences soon. With a swift move, one of the women was brutally slammed to the floor. Walking across the stained ground, a voice narrated about 20 slaves with courage but no brains. The commander added that they had crept behind her back. Standing beside the younger sister, she said at least she still had some men she could use. The girl kicked the squad insignias that had fallen to the ground. The men stared in shock at the objects and asked what they were. One recognized the markings of the squad on their cloaks. With a grin, their leader said it looked like everything was over. The commander simply agreed. With a snap of her fingers, she addressed everyone present. In a quick motion, a weapon was hurled at the remaining traitors. Smiling, the woman announced it was time to move on to the reward and punishment part of the game. One of the recruits screamed desperately as a man cracked the floor with his foot. Another traitor kicked a companion and shouted, asking why this was happening. A voice mocked them, telling the little sisters-in-law to run. Weapon in hand, the figure urged them to run faster. The commander then revealed herself and warned them to run quicker. With a smile, she taunted that the big bad wolf would catch them from behind. One of the men readied himself with a staff. He yelled for his companions to attack right then. In a quick move, he lunged and swung the staff at her. The attack was blocked, leaving him completely stunned. He realized the staff had been stopped by energy radiating from her armor. With a blink, the woman began to ask a question. She then asked if they had forgotten what body armor was. Without hesitation, the leader shot him. At the last second, a small dart grazed past her. Annoyed, the commander complained that she hadn't even given them weapons or armor, and yet they still tried to kill her. The remaining recruits just stared at her in silence. Their leader asked if her reaction wasn't a bit over the top. The woman simply gave him a serious look. She explained that if she hadn't anticipated the situation, she would be the one lying on the ground, and they had no right to complain about dying. The commander concluded that everyone is responsible for their own choices. The man said that if they were going to work together, he needed to understand how she did things. As the remaining traitors fled, a voice remarked that one favor deserves another. Then a headless body fell from the building, rolling across the ground. While the last traitor shielded his partner, he was suddenly stabbed in the back. From the balcony, Shen Zhuan appeared, aiming her gun to finish the job. Meanwhile, farther away, the two other escaping traitors were catching their breath among the rubble. The silence of the night was broken only by the drip of blood on the asphalt. The man stood while his companion slumped in exhaustion. Relieved, the fugitive whispered to herself that she had finally escaped. Then she asked what the two of them should do now. Suddenly, her partner was attacked by mutants and screamed desperately for help. The woman stood frozen, watching the scene. Then she stumbled back, begging for help, saying she didn't want to die. As she turned around, she saw a swarm of mutants approaching. Her eyes widened as she faced the threat coming toward her. A giant creature rose over her, blocking the moonlight. All she could do was let out one final scream of terror. The beast opened its jaws to devour her as the victim could only whisper a last prayer. Meanwhile, hidden nearby, two other traitors watched the scene from afar, trying not to be seen. They shrank behind cover so the monsters would notice them. One of them recognized the creature leading the horde. It was revealed to be a demon devourer leading the attack. The monster's eyes glowed intensely in the darkness. From a vantage point, a man commented to Shen Zhuan about the incredible number of mutants gathered. Shen Zhuan simply gave a faint smile at his comment. Moments later, the horde of mutants turned their backs and began to walk away down the street. Surprised, the traitors wondered if the creatures were really leaving. One of them turned to the group and said that if they had left earlier, they would have had to face all those monsters. At that, one of the women showed an expression of shock. The men looked at each other in confusion. With her face partially covered, another member whispered that it wasn't possible. Hearing the comments, the young warrior stifled a laugh. With an air of superiority, she assured them not to worry, saying the mutants in this region had an agreement with the residents. Then the man asked if it was just coincidence that the monsters always devour the traitors she expelled. Laughing, the woman asked what else it could be. Her gaze then turned serious as she questioned if he was suggesting she could control monsters. Casually, she added that even the wildest dreams had their limits. The man then remarked that the tactic of using one to scare the others worked well. Taking a step forward, the strategist started to walk away while one of the traitors nervously agreed. With a wink, she said she hoped to get more advice from him in the future. Finally, she walked off down the ruined street street and welcomed the new member to her crew. Far away, a beam of light appeared in the middle of a green field. With the sound of distortion, the brightness grew stronger, signaling someone's arrival. Moments later, Song Chao materialized there and took his first step into that world. He walked through the grass in metal boots, approaching a house. Carrying a large case on his back, he sighed in relief at finally arriving. Looking around, he realized he was back home. Then he thought that showing up in the yard dressed like that might get him in trouble. Thinking it over, he concluded he'd need to find a way to hide everything. Deciding quickly, he concluded that changing clothes first would be best. As he neared the door, he heard his father asking if it was a new medicine. Sitting in a chair, the man asked if it was for his lungs. At that moment, Song Wengshan looked at his son and asked if he was okay. Now in casual clothes, the young man explained it was a new medicine from the company where he worked. He showed the device and said that if all went well, they would soon be rich. Suspicious, his father asked if he was being used as a test subject. The young man said he would never do that, explaining the medicine was expensive, and this was the only way to get it. Then he applied the device to his father's arm, hoping it would heal his lungs. Soon after, Song Wengshan clenched his fist and joked that he felt like Superman. His son silently watched his reaction carefully. The man then advised him not to meddle in his affairs, but to never betray his conscience. Song Chao just held back a smile as he processed the advice. Finally, he turned to leave and told his father not to worry. He was going back to work. Soon after, Song Chao went to a commercial street and stopped in front of an antique shop. The sign on the facade stood out on the building. Inside, he opened a briefcase revealing 6 gold bars. The shop owner, Boss Ju, was shocked to see the contents. The young man asked him to calculate the price for a total of 6 kilos of gold. The merchant picked up one of the bars to inspect it closely. After a brief analysis, his expression grew serious and suspicious. Boss Ju asked if the young man had done anything to the bars. Confused, Song Chao replied he had brought them directly to the shop. The merchant mused that while gold had no code, the boy didn't seem to be lying. Deciding, he closed the briefcase and said he would take them all. Then he stated he could only pay 250 yuan per gram, which made Song Chao question why. The shop owner justified it by saying he was just helping collect the gold as an advance. He confirmed the payment via transfer on his phone. Looking at the screen, Song Chao decided that next time he would focus on reselling artwork. Suddenly, he remembered something he needed to do. He turned and asked Boss Joe where he could find a car dealership. The merchant said that since the town was small, he could recommend a good place. He handed him a card from the shop where he had bought his own car. Then he suggested the visitor go there to take a look. As soon as Song Chao left, the merchant messaged a contact asking if there had been any recent gold thefts. Alone, he thought about how there was no record of the crime and no way to trace the gold's origin. Leaning back in his chair, he admitted that doing business with Song Chao was stressful. Finally, he decided he would never get involved in a deal like that again. Arriving at the dealership, the traveler walked into the showroom and greeted them. Right away, he stated directly that he wanted to buy a car. At that moment, a saleswoman approached and offered to show him the models. The sales manager, Chen Jia, formally introduced herself to the customer. The tour of the vehicles began with a white SUV. Next, they passed by a luxury convertible model. A golden sports car was also on display in the main hall. The manager explained that they had the most complete line and asked what his budget was. Song Chao thought for a moment before answering the question. Then he said his initial budget was 1 million yuan, which shocked the saleswoman. Confused by her reaction, he asked what was wrong, but she nervously denied it. The manager then tried to regain her composure and hide her surprise. Once recovered, she asked if he had any specific model in mind. At that moment, the young man's phone began vibrating in his pocket. He asked for a moment and answered the call. On the other end, an unfamiliar voice asked if it was Song Chao. He confirmed his identity and asked who was speaking. Xiuxiu's best friends introduced themselves and said they needed to tell him something. After hearing what they had to say, his expression changed completely. With a serious tone, he thanked them for the information and said he understood. Once the call ended, he put the phone back in his pocket. The manager came closer and he turned to speak directly to her. Urgently, he asked if there was any car he could pay for and take immediately. Moments later, a white SUV shot out of the dealership at high speed. The vehicle screeched around a tight corner, tires squealing. Accelerating even more, the car disappeared on the city's horizon. With his hands steady on the wheel, he focused completely on the road. As he drove, the young man muttered the name Xiuxiu aloud. On the phone, Zhao Yu explained that a wealthy man with a bad reputation had been pursuing Xiuxiu, but she had rejected him. She then revealed that the man offered her money to go to a karaoke bar, asking her not to tell the family. Hearing this, Song Chao clenched his teeth as the friend admitted she found this situation inappropriate. Already inside the car, he immediately asked Zhao Yu if she knew where they went. Once he got the answer, the vehicle sped up and drifted through a corner at high speed. With a determined expression, he stayed focused on the road ahead. Soon after, he stopped in front of the Heaven and Earth karaoke building. As he entered, the receptionists greeted him at the front desk. One of the employees tried to get his attention, pointing toward him. Ignoring Ignoring her, the young man simply leaped over the counter while the receptionist shouted for him to stop. He ran down the hallway, ignoring the pleas for him not to barge in like that. As he advanced, his eyes scanned from side to side. His search led him to stop in front of a specific door. Without hesitation, he threw the door open and shouted, "Song Wenxiu." Inside, a burly man was holding the girl by her arm.